As always, wherever I go, I try to bring you up-to-date information that may impact positively on your practice's bottom line and to take care of patients more efficiently and in a better way. I happen to be walking through AUA 2024 at the exhibit hall and ran into this very, I say, um, smart guy, if you will,
Appreciate it.
who is the co-founder of Imano Flow, and his name is Bishara Korkor. Audio engineer or physical physicist is
I'm a
what you
physicist. Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
physicist. So a physicist who developed Imano Flow. And so I know there are a lot of audio detecting Uroflow studies out there. And I asked him what is different about Imano Flow. And also I want to have him talk about how his product will help benefit your patients, BPH patients who need Uroflows that when they come into the office, often they don't have a full bladder, they're not really urgently needing to go. So his solution solves that problem. So tell us a little bit about your product, Imano Flow.
Happily, yeah. So my name is Bishara Korkor. Emano Flow is almost 5 years old now, and our entry to caring for patients really starts at better data, and this means getting representative data. This means getting accurate data, and when you're able to get more than a single Uroflow reliably, you end up building a bladder diary as well. And so, really, what we are capable of providing physicians is really a more comprehensive picture of a patient's urinary life. We're monitoring not just urinations, but we're collecting symptoms from the patient, self-reported symptoms, so that by the time it's coming to the urologist, they really have a conversational, data-driven centerpiece with that patient to make treatment decisions. And this can really streamline your practice. If you can imagine the boon to your practice, if you're capable of making deliberate measurements before and after intervention and show demonstrably improvement, or show that there isn't improvement, and you know that it's time to move on to next steps. This efficiency is really going to help you tackle this enormous BPH population that the average or the a normal general urologist seeing is, say, 40-50% of their patients as BPH patients. And so the technology is also built very much in mind with the target patient demographic. And so we knew going into building the technology that this was a patient group that was going to be older, and they were going to have urgency, and that our application needed to be usable by those people. We didn't want them to have to come to us. We can go to them, meet them where they're at. And this means that our technology is built with them in mind, and so they don't have to, for instance, calibrate the the audio before. It just works right out of the gate, and it works accurately regardless of background noise, meatal geometry, patient height, echoic properties of the bathroom, toilet bowl geometry, water depth. We counted for all of that when we built the technology, and so a patient can hit the button, open the app, hit the button on their way to the bathroom, and it won't be impacted by all that the cacophony of daily life. And so you can get a reliable Uroflow. This is why we have extraordinary patient compliance with our current patients. Our average age of our users is 67 years old, and they record more than 63 urinations on average over the order period. And so we're getting tremendous patient engagement. They reach out to us wanting second orders, the patients really like having that data. And so really this is about better care for patients, better practice workflows for physicians, and of course addressing the huge list of woes about collecting in-office Uroflows.
Yeah, so it sounds like you really thought about the patient experience, being empathetic to the patient, removed pretty much all the friction for the patient to use that application. And speaking of the application, it's an app that you download on any sort of smartphone device,
Yes,
right?
that's correct. Yeah, Android or iOS. Yeah.
So, as you said, the guy usually has urgency. Your competitor, your unique selling proposition, one of them unique selling proposition is that there's no calibration needed.
Indeed.
You just turn it on, and the patient goes into the restroom, uses the restroom, and like you said, you've already taken into account all the physical, the reverb and things like that, characteristics of the patient's void, so that you can get an accurate reading.
That's right, and that's really borne out in the compliance. We just have extraordinary engagement from patients, much higher than, frankly, a lot of our physicians who are our earliest adopters were shocked. They thought it would, we had a guy who was 98 years old use the app, more than 100 times. I mean, it's truly built for them in mind, and we're very proud of it.
So it sounds like it's clinically efficacious, and obviously it's FDA compliant or whatever it may be.
Indeed.
It's not an invasive device, so
That's right.
it's clear that way. So the clinical, the legal, and now of course we have to talk about the financial
Of course.
aspect.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, so there's, I guess there's the mundane, which is that it pays for itself, and it can produce you an ROI. It does this through the complex Uroflow codes, or at least our current customers are using the complex Uroflow code with a professional component modifier to seek reimbursement for the interpretation of the Uroflows. And that is, for a lot of private practices, a necessary thing. You got to make sure that you're covering your financial base. However, I think the really exciting part is the streamlining of your practice. If you're capable of fewer appointments to find the right treatment as driven by data, you're able to open your practice for higher yield patients, sicker patients, and new patients, which are really going to be that's really what's going to drive larger revenue for your practice.
So I imagine using this, prescribing it, and then have the patient use it, and then following up with the patient via telemedicine. So
Yes.
the patient doesn't even need to leave his home, and we can go over the results and then maybe change his treatment. Maybe the patient needs additional workup, like a Euro cuff or cystoscopy or transrectal ultrasound, teeing him up for additional intervention, which is good for the patient and also good for the urologist.
You're getting it exactly. Yeah, that's extremely well stated. I think there is, we have several examples of just that, of our current customers doing follow-up remotely and taking what would be in-office appointments and turning them into 2-minute phone calls. And now that appointment slot is now available for the next patient.
Now, what is the economic, how does that economic model work? Is it a subscription base, or does the patient buy it? How does that work? Tell us briefly.
So it's a subscription model. You would, as a provider, sign up for Emano Flow. You'd get a clinic license or a license for your per provider, and you have unlimited Uroflows. We don't cap your usage. We want you to be able to order it as much as you can, so that you can streamline your practice, and we don't want to put barriers in front of you to do that.
So that makes it a predictable cost or expenditure model that I'm sure the administrators will appreciate.
Certainly. Yeah.
And
That's correct.
is it a cost per provider or a cost per practice? How does that work?
It's a per provider. So your staff, we don't charge for onboarding your staff. Basically per provider, which is yeah, it's for them. They know what their costs are going to be. They know how many orders they're going to take each month to get into the black, and how many they really want to get after. And it works very nicely for our current customers.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your information regarding Imano Flow. It sounds like it's something that is good for the practice and also good for the patient. Look into it. I'll put the link in the video description down below. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time, and thank you so much, Bashar.
Sean, thank you so much. We're much
Yeah.
appreciated.
I'm glad you stopped me at the
Yeah,
walkway
I'm glad
here.
I saw you. Yeah, yeah. Take care, everybody.
See ya.